is the data telling you about how the pandemic has changed the workplace for good?
Well, Emily, it's always great to be with you, even though I'm virtual, obviously. Hopefully soon we can be back in the studio together. I think about it across three real categories. First is what the index says about the people, our employees. And, stats like almost 2/3 of them would say that the ability to work in a hybrid model is going to affect who they work for in the future. And candidly, they believe half their companies won't give them that opportunity. Half the companies won't give them that opportunity. So that's a big finding for us. The second big one is that, you've got 61 million meetings that we're hosting monthly on WebEx. But half the people in those meetings don't participate. And so we have to bring together the technology and the people to actually enable the technology to drive the inclusion of the participants into these sessions. The second real aspect of it is around the technology itself. We now know that the home office is like a small branch, and we need the technologies that allow us to treat it like a small branch. We need to be able to troubleshoot and do observability, and we need security at a different level. We need hardened technology. So that's a big difference as we move forward. I think in the month of September, there were 100 million daily email cyber attempts that we were tracking. And so this is another aspect that's going on. And then I think, the place. In a hybrid work world, some people believe, will they ever return to the office? What's going to happen? And the reality is that from 6 months ago, we've seen 61% increase in wireless activity inside our customers who have their wireless networks connected to the cloud. So it's pretty significant what's going to occur.
We've been talking about the Great Resignation, and also I've heard the term the Great Reflection, where you have a lot of employees taking this moment right now to reevaluate their careers. How directly correlated do you think flexibility and having flexibility will be with longevity? How long an employee decides to stay at a certain company?
I think it's going to be critical. I think that we're taking a people-first, flexible approach, and I think that's what we're going to have to do because on the one hand, working from home has been, I'd say, effective and productive. On the other hand, it's brought out a lot of stress, and people have been reassessing their work-life balance. And I think we have an opportunity, if we do this right with hybrid work, to give them more flexibility. The second thing it does, though, is it opens up access to talent. I think many companies were very geographically limited in how they thought about where they would hire. And I think this is going to open up the opportunity for us to hire in lots of different places that we otherwise wouldn't have been thinking about.
And your report also takes a look at AI and whether that will help or hurt employment. I recently interviewed Kai-Fu Lee, a longtime tech executive, mostly working in China, who just wrote a big book about AI. And he paints this idea that by 2041, most jobs literally will be gone. Take a listen to what he had to say.
I think most of the jobs as we know it today will be gone, and AI will be doing them for us. But there will be new jobs. Just as any technology revolution, electricity and internet, small ones like the automatic elevator and Uber, they've all taken jobs and put jobs back. So that is my expectation.
Chuck, do you agree with that? And in your view, how does AI fit into the employment equation? Well,
I think certainly AI is going to replace some jobs. I think easy jobs like CEO, those will definitely be replaced. But and I do think it'll create other new jobs. But what we've seen is that we've been able to leverage AI at the heart of like the WebEx platform to actually create inclusion and more capabilities like noise suppression. There's a whole lot of noise in my house right now that you don't hear because it suppresses it through AI. We're doing real-time language translation via AI. So there's a lot of benefits, I think. And so we don't believe that it's necessarily only going to replace jobs. We think it's going to enhance the employment experience. And we're using a lot of AI to drive some of the inclusive features that we're building into some of our technology.
I'm going to check in with Kai-Fu after this to see if your job is safe or not, Chuck. I'll give you an update. I do want to ask you about the supply chain. I will. I do want to ask you about the supply chain, the chip shortage. It's something that we've been talking about now for 18 months. What are you seeing in the chip supply chain, and where are the bottlenecks that still exist?
Well, I know for a fact, speaking to the folks in the semiconductor industry, Pat Gelsinger, Lisa Su, et cetera, we were on a call today together, and they're currently, the semiconductor industry is in the midst of building out capacity, right? It's not built out. It takes 12, 24, even more months than that. So I think they're working on it, but it hasn't gotten materially better at a time where we see demand continuing to spike. And so, but it's not just semiconductors. It's substrate technology, it's power supplies, it's memory, it's trucks and not having enough drivers, it's port capacity. Now we have power issues in China. We have COVID outbreaks in Southeast Asia. So it's just not one thing. So my current thinking is sort of middle of next year, we'll start to see some gradual improvements, but it's probably 23 when we see demand and supply kind of line up again.